Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I had a little bit of a moment this week where just, sometimes something just clicks and you're like, wow, I've been looking at something completely wrong, or this is a completely different way for me to look at something, but it makes so much sense. So I was reading Seth Godin's blog. I subscribe by email, so I get a little, just little snippets or short little articles. And he did an article about pleasure versus happiness. And I started to think about that because I always kind of thought that they're the same thing. I paint a picture. This is very pleasurable to paint this picture. It's very, pleasurable to, go for a walk. These are things that are nice that I enjoy doing. But I think the word pleasure might be the wrong word for that. So he was talking about how pleasure is kind of like a quick fix and happiness is more of a long-term contentment. And another thing that had kind of been stuck in my brain was a really insightful comment that one of you left under the hedonic treadmill video about how even keel is not a bad thing. Being a constant level of contentment or happiness is good. It's good to be an even keel. To have all these spikes up and down is kind of unhealthy. And so I had both of those thoughts brewing around in my brain, and I was contemplating on them a little bit more, and I think I've kind of figured something out. I mean, probably other people have too, but when you think of like pleasure is what advertisers sell you, whether it's a juicy burger or it's lose 20 pounds in 1 week. Those ads are probably next to each other, so it's very confusing. You want the juicy hamburger and you want to lose 20 pounds in a week. But the thing that these have in common are instant gratification. It's that hit of dopamine that you get when your pleasure sensors are buzzing. So maybe it's, and I see a lot of it on people on social media. I think it's what glues people onto like Facebook or Twitter. They're constantly getting fed a chance to hit a button and get a reward. You post a picture and then you're just glued to, oh, somebody liked it, oh, somebody liked it, ooh, somebody left a comment, woo, and you get this burst every time you get a little bit of feedback, or you get to go through and you get to feel these reactions like, oh, well, somebody posted something I agree with, well, I'm gonna type my agreement to the, oh, somebody posted something I didn't agree with, well, I'm gonna type what I, and then people reacted to what I reacted to. So, and it's just constant like dopamine, these constant like hit a button, get a reward, like we're monkeys in a lab experiment. And that's kind of what I feel like Facebook is, and that's a reason why I'm not on there very much. I just got a notification from Facebook saying I have 102 friend requests. I didn't think you could have more than 1,002 friend requests, and I didn't think that, I thought you would fill it up at 1,000 then you would stop getting them. So I haven't dealt with it because I don't recognize a lot of the people, and I don't want to ignore somebody and then like come to find out I really know who this person is, and now I feel bad, so I just don't even deal with it because I don't want to make anybody feel bad, but I don't want to accept people that I don't really know. So it's just a big mess. I'm not a big social media person, although I make my living sharing online, but I just thought that was very interesting because it's so easy to get sucked in to these devices because it gives us a quick like burst of pleasure every time we see something we agree with, or we see something that we want to react to, or somebody reacts to us, or somebody, we're just getting this almost false, it's a treadmill really, I mean this false like cycle of either being happy or being upset or being angry or being outraged or being happy or being, and it's just on and on and on. And if you've ever sat down to check your phone for a couple minutes, you want to go see what your friends are doing on Facebook, if you don't get out of there once you've gone in there to see what you wanted to see, you can be stuck there for half an hour, 45 minutes, hours even, because you push a button, you get a reward. You push a button, you get a reaction. And I don't think that's healthy. It's what, it's just like, you can drive into McDonald's and you can get a quick meal and you can, feel really great when you're eating it. I assume I don't eat at McDonald's, but, maybe it's a bag of chips. They're my guilty pleasure. I could buy a bag of chips and I could eat the chips and just feel like, oh, this is great. But then afterwards you feel like, oh, a slug, and then you feel regret. Why did I do that? So I think that's what it is. If it's things that they would fall in more in the pleasure category, or things you kind of regret right afterwards. And things that are easy, like it's easy to watch TV. It's easy to sit down and watch TV as opposed to lacing up your sneakers and going for a walk, which would give you more long-term happiness. It's easy to go online and buy a bunch of brand new art supplies than it is to like get out all your art supplies and create a painting. But buying the art supplies can give you a sense of regret when you're done. You might feel like, oh, why did I buy those? I haven't used the ones that I have. Or oh, I spent so much money. Why did I spend so much money? Now I feel bad about that. Now I'll probably never use them because I feel bad every time I look at that pile of art supplies. So it's a short-term happiness, a short-term pleasure. You get that dopamine spike, but then afterwards you feel kind of let down, or you feel a little regret, or you feel like you just did something counterproductive to where your values and morals lie. So think about ways to happiness, like painting that painting. That is going to give you long-term happiness. That's going to release serotonin in your brain as opposed to dopamine. Going for that walk is going to release serotonin versus dopamine. You're going to feel better for the rest of the day that you went for that long walk versus ate a bag of chips. I think the big thing is that something that is going to lead to your happiness is you're doing something that's going to lead to fulfillment versus something that's going to lead to regret. And not all things that are pleasurable have to be bad for you, obviously not, but I think when you think more of future you think more of long-term you and the long-term effects of your decisions. I think it's going to be much easier to take the happiness route versus the pleasure route. And you are going to derive pleasure from the things that bring you happiness, obviously. But I think that that the pleasure that Seth Godin was talking about is more instant gratification. I think that's what we always called instant gratification. You know, you get a quick treat and then it doesn't fulfill your long-term goals. So I just wanted to kind of clarify happiness versus pleasure, or what I kind of took from that even keel comment that got left. I thought it was really insightful, and yeah, I think we should kind of try to maintain a contentment, and that's part of enjoying what we have and making the most of what we have. I know you've been into like doing errands or been into stores and you encounter people that are they're just happy. You enjoy, you know, interacting with them because they are pleasant and they always seem like they're in a good mood. And then you see some people that you will avoid that sales clerk's line because this person's always miserable and always complaining to the person bagging your groceries about how her shift is almost over and she can't stand working here. And, you know, you're going to gravitate to those people that are happy, and you can be one of these people that is happy no matter what your job is. You could find something positive about it. I was listening to a person talk about Buddhist principles, and he was talking about a butcher that he worked in a butcher shop, but he was Buddhist, so it went against his principles to take a life. But then he decided that he was going to, because he was talking to a monk, I guess, well, how do I do this? How do I do my job? I need to provide for my family, but I feel like this job is not in relation to my beliefs. And the monk told him, you need to find a way to make it more within your beliefs. So if he saw like a cow come in that had just had a calf and it was too soon for the calf to be separated from the mother, he would refuse to slaughter it. If somebody who was poor came in, he would give them meat. He would be as kind as he possibly could to the animals that he had to slaughter. And that was a way for him to be more in line, or have his values more in line with the position that he currently held. And I think a lot of us could take a little bit from that principle and or take a lesson from that principle and find a way that we could be more positive and I guess infect other people's lives with a better sense of well-being while we're doing our job. And this is the other thing, is that I think that you're told so much, especially on social media, that you need to follow your dreams, you need to seek happiness, you need to be happy, your goal is to be happy, you better be happy or you are missing the boat, you are missing out on life, you are doing life wrong if you're not happy, and you're gonna die unhappy, not have fulfilled your bucket list. And that's anxiety. That just brings you anxiety. You know, everybody's got these long bucket lists and you see them post them on social media all the time and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all the things they plan to do in October. I just want to, buy Halloween candy before Halloween and not eat it all before the kids come, and that's my bucket list, and I think that we can compare to all these other people's goals and just make ourselves crazy trying to be happy. That's like counterproductive. You should try to be happy, or you should try to find the little bits of joy and magic in every day instead of having this crazy bucket list that is, unreasonable to think anybody can achieve overnight. I mean, hike Mount Everest. That's, you feel like you should hike Mount Everest. I have no desire to climb a mountain. Why would I put that on my bucket list? But you feel like you're missing out if you're not, doing what everybody else has on their bucket lists. I think that the pursuit of happiness has kind of been a very anxiety driving pursuit. You talk to pretty much anybody and they're going to mention, though, how are you feeling? Or and within a conversation, I bet the word anxiety comes up at some point, because people are so worried that they're missing out and that they're kind of not seeing the forest for the trees. They're overlooking the everyday magic because they're so worried that they're missing out on doing something really big that everybody tells them they should be doing, because you should be following your dreams, you should be completely autonomous, you should be not answering to anybody, and yet still having it all together. I'm seeing this so much more lately. And then I'll go back to my hometown and I'll wander into a store where the same people have been working there for 20 years, and they're happy, they're content, they are enjoying their life, they're pleasant to talk to, and they're not stressed out about worrying about not climbing Mount Everest, or not having their dream job, or this or that. And I just think that we put so much pressure on ourselves to have a bucket list, to be completely happy all the time, and we're overlooking the things that make us happy. If you're spending your whole evening scrolling through Twitter, I can't stand Twitter, if you're or scrolling through social media, you're seeing everybody else's brag reel, a brag book basically, and you're comparing your life to that, and you're feeling a slug because you're sitting on the couch and you're probably staying up too late because you've got this constant screen in your face. And then you're wondering why everybody else is having such an awesome life and you're not. And probably everybody else on the other side of that screen is wondering the same thing as they scroll through. I just think it's gotten a little crazy. And we're going into the holiday season, and it seems like everything gets a little bit crazier with Halloween Thanksmas upon us, and we're going to be pushed to consume, and not really think about or question why we're consuming so much. We're consuming because we want to buy something that will make somebody else happy, or we want to buy something that's going to make us happy, or we want to throw the perfect party that will make everybody in the neighborhood happy, or at least think that we're awesome and have something brag-worthy to put on Facebook. But I think we're really missing the point. I really believe in the pursuit of happiness, but I don't think that happiness is really the goal. I think if you are really pursuing something that long term is going to give you happiness, the pursuit is going to be what brings you the happiness, not reaching that end goal. It's going to be the pursuit. It's going to be the daily painting practice that you fit in. It's going to be the daily walk that you do to achieve optimum health for life. It's going to be noticing the beautiful sunset when you're out walking, noticing the beautiful clouds. Or last night when I was walking, I went out a little later than I intended to, and by the time I was coming back, it was almost dark, and this huge beautiful moon was in the sky. And I wouldn't have seen that if I hadn't just been outside walking and just taking it in and enjoying the little bits of happiness and the little slivers of joy that were just coming in. I would miss that if I was looking at a phone. I would miss that if I was on my treadmill looking at a YouTube video. You need to, I think, appreciate the little bits of happiness around you. And even the people that are living their dream, I don't think that people realize all of the junk that goes along with it. The people that are the most fulfilled probably have lives that are the hardest. They are, trudging through swamps in third world countries to bring medicine to impoverished people that otherwise wouldn't have access to it. The people that are feeling the most fulfilled are probably having the most strife as well. So I guess in closing, I just want you to look at things in your life asking, is this just a short-term pleasure? Or is this a long-term, is this going to contribute to my long-term happiness? If they are in agreement, then that's awesome. But if they're not, then really question them. If you are, eating a bag of potato chips, but you're also trying to live a healthier lifestyle, maybe you could just either avoid, for me, it would just be avoiding the potato chips because I have a problem. I would eat a whole bag. Or you portion out a little bit and you have that. Well, that's not gonna, I can have that. That's not going to ruin my long-term plans. you know, or you can eat the whole bag of chips and realize you're going to feel like, you know, crap the next day, and then move on at that point, I guess. The point is, you know, enjoy the little joys every day. Enjoy contentment. Don't feel like you have to keep up with somebody else's level of happiness. Don't feel like you have to compete with what somebody else is buying, or what somebody else is doing, or what somebody else wants or has. Try to make every day kind of agree with your goals and values as much as possible, and try not to darken anybody else's day while you go through it. The more light you bring to other people, the more will come back to you. Just like the really, you know, the nice cashier at the supermarket who is always cheerful and kind and enjoyable to be around. Don't be that person that's talking about how miserable the day was and how they can't wait to get out of work. I mean, you can clearly see who is having the better day, and a lot of that comes from within and how we choose to see the world and what we choose to put out. I'm sorry if this seemed very disjointed and random. I just think that we're going to be, you know, faced with a lot of pressure in the holiday season to make the most of it, to enjoy every moment, to make everybody else's moments magical too. And in that, I think a lot of times we do lose the joy, and we're stressed out, and people can sense it, and we're not helping anybody else. We're not bringing anybody else joy. We're just spreading stress. And if you've been on this KonMari journey with me since February, you're probably kind of coming to the holiday season thinking, I hope that I can, you know, stay on task, stay with my values, and do things intentionally. Because I mean, that's really what it boils down to. It all boils down to intentional living. It's not about the stuff, it's about the intentionality. So I hope this is helpful. This felt so much more, it was so much more concise in my brain, and then I just blah random, you know. So sorry if that's how it came out. I hope it's hopeful. I hope it's hopeful and helpful. Hopeful and helpful. Yeah, that would be perfect. I don't know if it is or not, but please give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know in the comments below. I want to know what small joy, what small happiness you either experienced today or you put out in the world today. How about that? I know not everybody, I know there won't be many comments of this because most people won't stay this long into the video because it got real random there for a while. But I thank you if you did stick around, and until next time, happy crafting.